So we are going to focus on Jan Southern, trusted Ferguson Alliance advisor.
All right.
Let's hear your quick elevator pitch on your background.
Well, I started out my career in a bank when I was in college and worked my way up from drive-through teller to being the head of operations, and went from there. Once my ex-husband graduated from college, then we moved down to Dallas where I became a corporate cash manager. And from there, just to make it all quick, I went to work for John Floyd at John Floyd and Associates, who was a family-owned business, and thought, this is going to be kind of short term, but I went to work for him and stayed there for 42 years. Left that company and thought, I'm just going to relax for a little while, and found out that retirement was not for me. And about a year and a half ago, I found Rob Ferguson, or Rob found me. I don't remember which way it was. It could have been a little bit of both. And so I brought my experience as a business process reengineering, and part of my strong expertise is in income and expense reduction. But we have a wonderful guy named Jay Rosen who takes a look at that. And so in our collaborative world, I have kind of focused on the reengineering portion of my experience. And when I joined Rob, I said, Rob, you seem to be really busy. And so I went out and earned my Certified Exit Planning Advisor certification. And as I'm here long enough, which is going to take a while, I will be able to support Rob in that role. But that's not an easy task to replace Rob on anything. And so that's really my background, is working both internationally and domestically in helping family-owned businesses as well as non-family-owned businesses to be better and to be more profitable, to be more prosperous, and to last longer. So that's in a nutshell, my 45 years of experience.
It's hard to fit 45 years in a nutshell. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Oklahoma State, so you're actually a cowboy, or I guess they call them cowgirls.
Cowboy.
You're a cowboy.
Yes,
all right, so
I have Pistol Pete on my shelf over there.
Nice. We always have some good college rivalries in this group.
Exactly.
So after graduation, you moved down south to Dallas, started working in the bank. Working with business process reengineering was your final specialty. Tell us more about that and what that means.
What that means is you go in and you take a look at their current situation. What is a company? Where are they now? And what are their pain points? Where do you see, from a 30,000 foot perspective, what their issues could be? The secret to that is that you don't make up your mind at that point. It may be that they think these are these pain points, but it could just be a symptom of something beneath. And so when you call it business process reengineering, you really have to start at the bottom, and you work your way through talking to. The way that I always did what I did is I started with the management team and I said, what do you believe the issues are? And believing what the issues are may or may not be true. And so then once you've had that conversation, and those are generally shorter conversations, then what you do is you go down and you talk to the people who do the work. Nobody knows more about the work and how it actually occurs. It may be that I have SOPs and there are ways that it's supposed to be occurring, but the pain points may arise because it's not what's really happening. And until you get down and you talk to, we even talk to the janitor. Sometimes the janitor, who sees everything, really knows what's happening. And so you go in and you say, what do you do? How do you do it? Does someone else give it to you and then you do something with it? And then once you've finished, you pass it along to someone else? Or do you do the whole thing? And so once you've had that conversation, and in the company that I was with, we didn't pick a person and say, I'm going to talk to that person. We talked to everybody. So if you had 150 employees, we had 150 conversations, because our favorite person was Louise. And so Louise may say, well, this is what we do. But then you talk to Sally and say, well, that's not the way I do it, you know? And so you want to make certain that through asking those questions, you really find out what's happening and what someone believes is happening versus what actually is happening. And you never want to say at that point that you know what's happening until you've spoken with everyone. And then you go back, you look at the data. The data may show that, well, they say, oh, we don't have any issues. You know, we don't have any problems. We always do it this way. But the data may say that's not really what's happening. And then you go back and you say, well, let me ask this question. Because, you know, in your own mind, you're saying what I'm seeing doesn't bear out what I'm hearing. And so you continue to ask questions until you finally get to the answer. And then you go back. My process is I always go back to the management team and ask questions again. This is what you see as a pain point, but is it possible that basically this is not what's happening? And could it be that this is the way it's really happening? And so you just keep asking questions until you get to the bottom of it, and then you can make your recommendations. The worst thing that can happen in business process reengineering is you go in with an idea, you say, well, this is what's happening. I can see it, but you're at your 30,000 foot perch, and so maybe you don't really see it. And so you have to make sure that your recommendations are borne out by you've asked the questions, you've received the answers, you've talked to the bottom level of people, the middle level of people, and the top level of people, and you wait until that all coalesces until you really identify it may not be the pain point, it may be the symptom of the real pain point. And so that's business process reengineering kind of tied up with a bow.
So needless to say, you and other business process reengineers probably extroverts, like talking and meeting with people.
Oh yeah. If you can't talk to people, I had a guy that worked for me and he says, I don't know anything about this business. And I said, but you love people, don't you? And he said, yes. And I said, I can never teach you to recognize that there's an issue. I can help you with the answer, but I can't tell you there's an issue that you need to be asking questions about. And he's one of those people who really ended up being one of the best advisors I ever had because he could walk in the room and say, there's an issue here. I may not know what it is, but I know I need to ask questions. Had another one that he always decided before he walked into a room what the problem was. You're never going to be successful. And so, yeah, you have to be an extrovert. You have to be comfortable in walking into a room. And sometimes people don't want you to be in there. And so you have to have a thick skin and you have to be an extrovert.
Well, this is a great question. I know a lot of people are wondering this. I've had lots of professional service people I've met with recently ask me this question, and I figured I'm going to throw it your direction. What is it like working with Rob?
It's great. It's challenging. Rob always challenges you to be the best you can be. He's not timid about giving you coaching if he sees that you need it. And I think it's always constructive criticism. It's never not constructive. And if you really admit it to yourself, it's something you needed. It's constructive criticism that you needed, and be coaching and teaching you constantly. I think that's something that's really, really good. If you're going to be a good advisor, you need to be able to take some coaching along the way. This is a different environment for me. I've always was in banking, and so learning to be on a wider scale and learning how to advance in that area, I think has been very good. And that's one of the benefits that Rob brings to you.
I
Yeah.
So
know,
listen up, Cindy.
we'll get to Jay and Brandy on their advisor spotlight questions and what they really think. They're going to have some more time to think about that question. But being on this team, you've even mentioned that you work with Jay and Brandy. You brought that up in your background a little bit, but do you have kind of a behind the scenes, funny collaboration story working with any of them?
Oh my goodness. I think one of the greatest things is that When I came into the company, the technology that they used was totally different. And at the same time, we were implementing a new software, and Brandy was heading that up. So not only was it different for me and what they used to use, it was really different on for everybody on what we were currently using. And so Brandy was very helpful, and so was Rob in bringing me up to speed on that. And then when Jay joined us, not only was he unfamiliar with what we did, but had a lot of challenges, and he and I kind of laughed at each other because we were trying to figure out what we were doing and technology wise. Another funny story is when I first joined the company, we started off on a project, and Tom Anderson was with us at the time, and I didn't know how the stuff worked. And when I say stuff, I mean the technology and how we saved out files, etc. And I messed up one of his spreadsheet, and I swear his head exploded. And so I think that probably Jay's felt some of that along the way as well. So, learning to use SharePoint where things, if you're going to touch a file, that's what's happening. And so that was something funny that I swear, I think his head's finally put back together, but I think it exploded.
Well, thank you, Jane, for sharing your journey and expertise with us.